Okay, what's going on, everybody? We are here. We're live. I want to thank you all for joining me today. Before we get things started, if you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button because that is the most important thing you can do for me on this channel. What it does, that helps make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get their notifications, and it also helps to push this video through the YouTube algorithm as well. Secondly, if you're new to the channel, or maybe you're one of those ghost watchers, always watching my videos but not hitting the subscribe button, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please make sure you follow me on Telegram. I cannot beg of you guys to do that enough. Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. And now, with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's stream. This should be a good one, right? So not too long ago, a few days ago, I think about 2 days ago, I was recommended on Twitter this video to watch, right? It was an investigative report that came out by, I believe it was NBC Chicago, and it's titled Uncovering Hidden Details of the Migrant Crisis in Chicago. NBC5 investigates. I want to go through that investigation video, but not all of it. It's about 20 minutes long. We're only going to go over a few of the portions that I wanted to highlight, but I will leave the link in the description box for you below if you wish to watch, if you wish to watch it for yourself in its entirety. What I wanted to do today is, like I said, go through a few highlights of that investigative report from NBC Chicago. But what I want to do before doing that is that I do want to take a moment to go through this article very quickly first, because it really helps to complement what we're getting ready to watch in the video, especially as it pertains to a lot of the wasteful spending and the injustice, as far as I'm concerned, as it relates to, Chicago homeless citizens now getting ready to have to compete with migrants for resources, which is completely ridiculous. And this is, once again, given all of the money that has been spent throughout the period in time that the migrant crisis has been going on in Chicago, right? So let's jump into this article right here first, titled Chicago's Homelessness Surge in 2024 as major U.S. cities bore the brunt, as major U.S. cities, yes, bore the brunt of a national trend. Let's get into this right now. In the article, it reads as such: as the United States saw an 18.1% increase in homelessness last year, Chicago's total more than tripled. Okay. The homeless population in Chicago tripled. The article continues to read: Chicago estimated 18,836 people experienced homelessness last year, compared with 6,139 in 2023, according to the city's annual tally released last summer. What is that? That's a 12,000 hike? 12,000 more homeless people. It went up by 12,000. Okay. And that number looks a little bit lower than what it should be. And we'll break down why that is in just a moment. And they're going to do that in the article. But it continues to read: homelessness mainly surged due to the number of migrants arriving in the city. Let's take a moment to pause. That extra 12,000 homeless are migrants. But as migrants find permanent housing, experts say the city's homeless population still faces a shortage of affordable housing and resources. And I find that very interesting, that they're finding and facing a shortage of affordable housing and resources when they're indeed actually giving it all to Biden's migrants, the illegal immigrants, right? I guess they're giving away so much of the resources and so much of the housing that there's just not enough to go around at this point, right? Extrapolating from 2022 data, the coalition estimated in December that 76,375 Chicagoans experienced homelessness throughout 2024, as opposed to the city's lower total that is intended to tally homelessness on a single day. So 76,375 is the real number. of homeless in Chicago, right? At this point, the majority of which are the illegal immigrants that I always refer to as Biden's migrants. And that total came from a group called Chicago Coalition to End Homelessness, just so we're clear on where that figure came from. The article continues to read, in October, Mayor Brandon Johnson announced that shelters specifically designated for newly arrived asylum seekers would close excuse me, by the end of the year. Now, the city plans to merge its shelter systems for former, excuse me, now the city plans to merge its shelter systems for asylum seekers and unhoused people into a unified network. I want to read that one more time because we're getting ready to get into the video now. Now, the city plans to merge its shelter system for asylum seekers and unhoused people into a unified network. 3 city run and 2 state run migrant shelters have remained open into the new year and are becoming part of the One System initiative intended for all residents experiencing homelessness starting this month. But what we're going to find out once we get into the NBC Investigates video on the migrant crisis is that there isn't enough room to go around as it pertains to shelter, resources, and housing. There isn't enough to go around, not at all. To really address homelessness, you need to make housing available, says Cindy Soto, the city's chief homelessness officer, whether it's rental housing, subsidized housing, or home ownership. But in March, the Bring Chicago Home referendum failed. It would have used a real estate transfer tax on high end properties to bring in dedicated money to tackle homelessness. Now, most of us remember the bogus Bring Chicago Home referendum. It was a nonsense referendum that was going to increase essentially the tax on those who own property worth over $1 million. And if you sell that property that's worth over $1 million, you are going to be taxed a bit higher than those who aren't selling property that are at $1 million. And that was supposed to generate roughly around $100 million annually, right? But we all knew and understood that the reality behind that Bring Chicago Home referendum, which they say was supposed to house the homeless, was really about funding the migrant crisis. Henceforth, why in Chicago, the people voted against it. And this was even given the fact that the courts already shot it down when property owners sued Brandon Johnson over this bogus referendum in which you're increasing the taxes of those who are selling property over $1 million, right? Now, mind you, Brandon Johnson, something that I've always pointed out in the past, when it came to homeless citizens that this Bring Chicago Home referendum was allegedly for, right? Allegedly, because we all know it's really for the migrants. But he needed a referendum to be voted on in order to house homeless citizens, allegedly homeless citizens, right? But when it came to Biden's migrants, the illegal immigrants, it was a non-issue. They were just able to get housing. How many of you all remember this article here? I'm not going to go through all of it like I did in the past, but just to jog everyone's memory, I want to touch on a few things here. City and state quickly moves thousands of migrants from shelters into homes across the South and West Side, but will they stay? We're just going to go through the first 3 paragraphs very quickly, and then we're going to jump straight into the NBC Chicago Investigates video. Migrants across the city are leaving shelters in droves, their belongings stuffed in trash bags they loaded into Ubers and Lyfts, which they have often arranged themselves to head to new homes. More than 8 months after state and city leaders said they wanted to help thousands of migrants find homes in Chicago, not thousands of Chicago citizens, but thousands of migrants find homes in Chicago. The government assistance program covering their initial months of rent is moving faster than ever. As we close this article out, migrants are now mostly settling on the south and west sides, where they say rent is more affordable, with the approximate $1,500 a month rental assistance they say they receive from the state. Working in partnership with the city nonprofit organizations in Chicago and case managers from Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Chicago, the state has spent $41.4 million so far to resettle more than 5,000 households, according to the Illinois Department of Human Services. Now, mind you, how long ago was this? This was back in March of this year when we first addressed this article. Back in March of this year, they had already housed 5,000 migrants to the tune of $41.4 million. How much more has that ballooned since then? We may never know. We may never know. We may need some freedom. What is it called? The freedom of information. We might need some freedom of information acts to be filed to find out how much more money has actually been spent. Meanwhile, Brandon Johnson told you, the American citizens of Chicago, he needed to bring Chicago home referendum to house you. We needed to vote on it. This is a very complicated issue, complicated matter, and we just can't give you guys housing. Well, we can if you're an illegal immigrant, but if you're a citizen of Chicago who's been paying your taxes your whole life, your family's been paying taxes your whole life in the city, your family's been in the city for generations upon generations paying taxes in the city, and you just can't get housing. But Biden Harris's migrants, well, yeah, they get what they want. We make it rain on them while we make you wait. Now, what I want to do is that I want to hop into the NBC Investigates video, right? Let's jump into this right now, because this is going to uncover a lot of the wasteful spending that's been going on over there. And like I said earlier, this isn't the entire video. The whole video is about 20 minutes long. Like I said, it's linked in the description box below. And I do strongly suggest that you watch it all for yourself when you get a moment to. These are just kind of the highlight moments that I wanted to present to you guys, right? So that we can go over. So let's get into that right now. And as I'm pulling that video up, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. That's extremely important. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and make sure you follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram's in the description box below. It's pinned in the comment section as well. I should say the live chat, and it will be pinned in the comment section once this stream is over. And let's get into this video right now.
Of this past year, the city announced it would begin evicting migrants from shelters. City aldermen argued to push back against that deadline amid the cold weather, as we press Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson for answers.
Mayor Brandon Johnson.
Mayor Brandon.
I'm sorry. I'm just remembering I wanted to intro this in a particular way, and I forgot, but I'm glad that I did remember before Brandon Johnson spoke. I said this before, and I'm going to say this again. For those of you who have been subscribed to this channel for quite some time now, right? You all know I covered, Chicago religiously in the early stages of the migrant crisis. All the time covering everything Chicago. And once the DNC, they shift gears in the election and they replace Biden with Kamala Harris, me, just like every other content creator on YouTube, we're just focused on the election, Kamala Harris versus Trump. After focusing so hard, you can say, on Kamala Harris for, what was it, about 3 to maybe 4 months straight, coming back to revisit Brandon Johnson, you realize that Brandon Johnson is literally Kamala Harris 2.0. This is a man that cannot speak unless he has a script. And when he goes off script, as we have seen many times before in the past, this man loses his mind and goes completely crazy and starts talking complete, utter foolishness. But what I want you to see right now is I want you to pay attention to how he's literally going to stop the reporter and not carry on with the interview until he can give his actual scripted answer to the question that he's being asked. Now watch this.
Johnson on stage in early March.
Every single young person, I want you to apply today.
To promote a summer jobs program, initially sidestepped questions about if the city would once again postpone the impending deadline for migrants to leave the shelters.
The city has twice or three times pushed the deadline back. Are you prepared to do that again?
We're compassionate people. I got you.
I'm just
I know,
trying to
I
get
get
yes or
you.
no.
Oh, don't say that to him.
No, it's okay, but is it okay if I say that we are compassionate people, though? Do I have your permission to say that?
Mayor, it does. It just doesn't
Okay,
answer the
okay,
question.
so it's not okay that I let people know that Chicago's compassionate? And let me just say it, though, okay? Thank you. We are compassionate people, and so we're doing everything in our power to demonstrate compassion.
It's like it's crazy. That's like he was in an acting class and it was like, can I get a chance to recite my line one more time? I've been practicing all this time. Can I just say it? Can I just say it, please? I know I'm botching, the audition. I know I'm messing up the audition. I understand that I'm botching it badly, but please just let me recite my line one more time. Please give me one more chance. Is it okay? Are you sure I can do it? Okay, here we go. Chicago is a compassionate city with a strong heart for the people. This man is insane. This man is crazy. I want to play that back one more time, and then we're going to carry on. I think Kamala Harris 2.0 is an understatement. I mean, I guess at least he remembers his line. Unlike Kamala, she didn't do very well at remembering her lines, right? Let's watch that one more time.
I'm back. Are you prepared to do that again?
We're compassionate people. I got you.
I'm just trying to get yes or no.
Oh, don't say that to him.
No, it's okay, but is it okay if I say that we are compassionate people, though? Do I have your permission to say that?
Mayor, it does. It just doesn't answer the question.
So it's not okay that I let people know that Chicago's compassionate? And let me just say it, though, okay? Thank you. We are compassionate people, and so we're doing everything in our power to demonstrate compassion. Now, as far as whether or not we will extend deadlines, we haven't gotten to that point. All right.
The mayor's
and the Oscar goes to Brandon Johnson. All right. The Oscar goes to Brandon Johnson.
Now, as far as whether or not we will extend deadlines, we haven't gotten to that point. All right.
The mayor's spokesman later confirmed that the first wave of migrants will be asked to leave starting on March 16. Consider these numbers. More than 6,000 people still live in city-run migrant shelters. That means costs are still adding up. Since August of 2022, the city of Chicago has spent more than $400 million, according to the city's spending website. Nearly $253 million went to one private company, Kansas-based Favorite Healthcare Staffing, which staffs the shelters. Another $76 million went to Equitable Social Solutions. That company partnered with another called ReloShare, which helped identify and sign lease agreements with property owners of the buildings that eventually became the migrant shelters.
That's where a number of those leases are.
But when we asked the city months ago for copies of these lease agreements, we were given just 9 out of 27. The use of these private companies has helped mask from public view where the public dollars have flowed. What we didn't know until now is how much the property owners of the migrant shelters were earning. But thanks to a new lawsuit, we're being provided some more clarity. A lending company filed this lawsuit in May against 2 Chicago developers, alleging they did not make it clear when they signed a loan agreement that the building in the West Loop would be used to house migrants. What is not in dispute is that the owners of the Ogden shelter are paid $150,000 a month by ReloShare as part of a use agreement. That
$150,000 a month. And that's just one shelter. That's just one. What was that of the 27 that they had on file? $150K a month. What does that come out to in a year?
by ReloShare as part of a use agreement. That means in a year's time, they'd receive more than $1.8 million. The lease agreement also calls for additional payments of up to $400,000 if the number of migrants inside the Ogden shelter exceeds 650. The latest figures show more than 700 people still live here.
This is such an absurd cash grab. Okay? They're paying them $150K a month. That's 1.8 million a year. With a clause that states if we have to house over 650 migrants, you now owe us an additional one-time payment of 400,000. And surprise, surprise, how many people are they housing? Over 700. This is crazy, an unbelievable cash grab. And it's no wonder why you see these governors and mayors fighting so hard, on top of above a bunch of other reasons, right? Concerning making sure that they have enough delegates in the House representation that represents their states, because we all know, and we've gone over it numerous times before, how the citizen population are fleeing these cities, but the citizens fleeing are being offset with the migrants coming in. Outside of the need to maintain that illegal immigrant population, you know, just like I know, these property owners and these business owners that run these buildings, you know, they're lining up these crooked Chicago local officials' pockets, helping out their campaigns, saying, keep this going and keep this money flowing, and I will break you off. Don't worry, I got you. How much you need on the campaign? Here you go. Just keep it coming. Keep it coming. Nobody wants this to end. Nobody, if you're living in, you know, a DNC city like I am, I'm here in Los Angeles, nobody wants this to end other than the citizens. But the mayor, governor, city council, and many of these property owners that are running these buildings and shelters, they do not want this stuff to end at all whatsoever.
Population inside Chicago's migrant shelters has been shrinking for months. At the same time, the city's facing a projected billion-dollar budget shortfall. Days out before revealing his spending plan, Mayor Brandon Johnson announced the city's migrant mission will effectively stop at the end of the year. Are we announcing this today because the city is in such a financial hole that in order to go forward and sort of, I guess, lessen that blow, you've got to announce this and hopefully inherit some cost savings?
We're announcing it today because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. Now we'll get to the financial ramifications to it, but I just want the people of Chicago to know that we stand up for our values.
Under the One System initiative announced by Johnson, migrant shelters will close by December 31st. Both migrants and other homeless Chicagoans needing housing will have to compete for bed space. 6,800 beds, far fewer than the 15,000 once available in the migrant mission.
That One System initiative that we talked about earlier in the article, as the NBC Investigates reported, the homeless migrants, illegal immigrants, and the homeless citizen population now have to compete for resources. They now have to compete for shelter space. And we all know by the data which we saw earlier, the homeless migrants well outnumber the homeless migrants well outnumber the citizen homeless population. They outnumber them by leaps and bounds. So we know who these shelters are going to be filled up with. And it's not going to be the citizens of Chicago. So not only did, for the past 2-3 years that this migrant crisis has been going on, well, 3 years, right? 4 years at the most, right? Throughout the duration of time that this has been going on, we have sat and watched J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois. He does not get the amount of blame that he deserves for this. But we've sat and watched J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, and the Chicago mayor, Brandon Johnson, deliberately, intentionally prioritize the illegal immigrant population over its citizens, right? When we're talking about the homeless population, we watch them prioritize them by way of pushing literally thousands of them, thousands of the illegal immigrants, into free housing that they said they didn't have for the citizens of Chicago. And now, as they're closing shelters down and reducing the bed sizes down from what was it, 15,000 to 6,000, why can't you just keep it as high as it was before? How come now all of a sudden, when it's time to put everybody in one system, now you want to downsize everything, bring it from 15,000 to 6,000? And now this is something that the homeless citizens have to compete for against the illegal immigrant population? Chicago's cooked, man. Chicago's cooked. This is literally the dirtiest, most corrupt city in the country. And there's actually data that backs that up too. I don't have that data in front of me right now, but next time I bring up Chicago, I'll pull it up after we've discussed that before. But man, these people are dirty. And when you want to talk about, hating your own citizen population, I don't think anybody despises their own citizen population as much as the local officials of Chicago do, especially Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson is a diabolical douchebag, to say the very, very least. And with all that being said, that's going to do it for today's stream. So I want to thank you all for joining me today. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to this channel. Share this video out on your social media platforms. And also, I keep stressing and I keep begging, please follow me on Telegram. That is extremely important to circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. Now, as we head out, I want to take a moment to read the super chats because I cannot leave without excuse me. I can't leave, without showing love to all of you who show love to me every time I go live. So shout out to Ross for coming through. Ross came through a few times, said, come on noon, January 20th. I'm right there with you. The January 20th cannot come fast enough. Ross ran it back and said citizenship means something under Trump. Big 47. Yeah, citizenship definitely means something under Trump. Big 47, my man, Big 47. You guys know I'm rocking with Big 47 to the wheels fall off, right? That makes some people mad, but that's okay. You can stay mad. We repping Big 47 over here. Kenya from Cali said, here for the real news. No Terry. I appreciate that so much, Kenya. You have no idea how much I appreciate that comment. Here for the real news, no Terry. Thank you, Kenya. Thank you. The only person that knows how much more that means to me is my man Rob right here, who's banned from the channel because he's toxic and he's not allowed to be on the main channel anymore. But he knows how much what you just said means to me. Shout out to Ross, who ran it back one more time. Ross said, as a teacher, this man is a nut. He should never have been mayor of any city. He fails basic civics and has no clue of what citizenship means. No, he does not at all. He doesn't care. Remember, he's going to walk away from this a millionaire, about 3.5 to what was it, $5.5 million, right? His pension with all the loopholes and everything like that he gained. Oh my God, this guy's going to have an early retirement where he's going to leave out of here with about anywhere between $3 to $5 million, man. He's set. He could care less about citizenship and all this kind of stuff that we're talking about right now. My man Saul, who always keeps my family fed, he said, Windy City is an old slang term for corruption. You are 100% correct. 100% correct. Shout out to my man Jay the Informant for 20 months of service. I didn't even read the comment yet, but I saw FDMG and I said, oh boy, here we go. Let's buy those buildings. FDMG and housing illegals. I'm right there with you, JD Informant. We need to put them in those two FDMG trap bandos, man. Put them in the FDMG trap bandos. My man Blacklight, thank you for 37 months of service. He says spending 1.5 Bitcoin on migrants is crazy work. They spent 1.5 Bitcoin on migrants. Yeah, that's wild. That's crazy work. And my man JD Informant ran it back one more time to close things out. He said FDMG housing for illegals. Hashtag FDMG housing for illegals, man. Hashtag FDMG housing for illegals. It looks like we have one more that came through. Shout out to Jay. Jay said, what do you think about Akuma Inu? I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know what Akuma Inu is. I thought I at first I thought you were talking about that Japanese boxer Inoue. You know, I thought you were going to ask me about the Japanese boxer Inoue, but I'm not sure. I don't know who Akuma Inu is. I'm not familiar with Akuma Inu. Uh I was trying to read through the comment section right now to see if somebody can help me out. I see something about my fellow Africans popping up. I don't know. Fantasy's playing games. All right, it's time to head out of here. You guys are, transforming this into something else that it doesn't need to be. Okay, and we all know what that is. And I'm not going to say the word, but it begins with a T, and ends with a T. It's two T's. But I'm not going to say it. Not on the main channel. Nope. There's a whole nother channel for the foolishness. So with all that being said, thank you guys for joining me today. Hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. If you're new to the channel, share this video out on your social media platforms, and make sure you follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. I'll catch you guys later. Peace, and have a great afternoon.